Archaeology is filled with mysteries that challenge our understanding of the past. For instance, discoveries such as ancient artifacts and architectural structures can significantly alter our comprehension of the development of civilizations.
In the 21st century, researchers in Peru have uncovered a vast network of underground canals built by the Incas to manage water resources in a mountainous climate.
These canals, over 200 kilometers long, demonstrate complex engineering skills that were previously unrecognized by historians. In other regions, such as Mesopotamia, archaeologists have unearthed clay tablets with inscriptions that indicate the existence of sophisticated administrative systems over 5,000 years ago. These findings compel scientists to re-evaluate chronologies and assumptions about how ancient societies interacted with one another.
Discoveries in places like Troy, where layers dating to different periods were found, have changed our understanding of the duration of wars and trade.
The locations of these artifacts are often hidden beneath the earth, making each discovery akin to a treasure hunt. Scientific research into new technologies such as radiocarbon dating enables precise dating of artifacts, allowing us to gain deeper insights into historical events. Crystalline skulls found in Central America represent one of the most mysterious and controversial topics in archaeology and history. It is believed that these artifacts may be linked to the cultures of the Maya and Aztecs, but their origin is a subject of heated debate among scholars and researchers. The most famous of the crystalline skulls were discovered at the end of the 19th century. One of the most famous skulls was found in 1886 in Mexico and subsequently became the subject of study and discussion.
Many proponents of the theory of their ancient origins argue that they were created in pre-Columbian times, which is supported by their appearance and presumed ritual functions.
However, using modern radiocarbon dating methods, researchers have concluded that these artifacts were likely made in the 19th century.
For example, in 1906, anthropologist Alfred Woods, analyzing the skull, concluded that it was likely made using tools available at the time, such as diamonds.
In this context, it is important to note that the quartz crystals from which the skulls are made have their own properties, and their processing requires a high degree of skill. However, as research has shown, the methods used to create the skulls were not sophisticated enough for ancient times, which also cast doubt on their antiquity. Additionally, many of the skulls were exhibited in museums, including the British Museum, where they attracted the attention of both tourists and scholars. However, some of them turned out to be fakes created during the period when interest in ancient artifacts and exotic cultural objects was at its peak. For example, in 1917, it was discovered that one of the skulls exhibited in the British Museum was made in Germany. This fake was so well crafted that even experienced researchers could not immediately detect the deception. Supporters of the theory of fakes argue that the crystalline skulls were used to attract tourists and generate profits from sales. Meanwhile, proponents of the ancient origin of the skulls continue to study them, and some even suggest that they could have had a special significance in rituals related to life and death. However, in light of recent discoveries and research, it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain the theory of their antiquity.
For example, in 2003 at an archaeology conference in Mexico, Professor José Gutiérrez presented the results of his research, which showed that the skulls were made using methods characteristic of European craftsmen of the 19th century. Research shows that many skulls were processed using grinding tools that were not available to ancient civilizations of Central America.
In this context, crystalline skulls become not just works of art, but symbols of how myths and reality can intertwine in history. There are also theories that the skulls could have been used as tools for predicting the future or in other mystical practices. Nevertheless, the lack of reliable evidence and conflicting opinions make this topic a source of endless discussions.
In 2005, researchers from the University of Texas conducted an analysis of crystalline skulls using X-ray fluorescence and found that they contained numerous impurities, which also indicates their modern origin.
Summing up all these facts, one can say that crystalline skulls remain a subject of endless debates and discussions, and despite numerous studies, their true origin has not been definitively established. The first results of the research on crystalline skulls were published in 1981. Roman dodecahedrons are bronze 12-sided figures that were found in Europe and date back to the 1st or 2nd centuries of our era. These mysterious artifacts have 12 faces, each containing circular holes, and their size typically ranges from 10 to 30 centimeters in diameter. To date, over 100 such objects have been discovered, with the majority found on the territory of the Roman Empire, including countries like Germany, France, and Britain. However, their purpose remains a subject of debate among scholars. Some researchers believe that dodecahedrons could have been used as measuring instruments, possibly for determining distances or angles. For instance, French archaeologist Jean-Luc Bonville suggested that the holes could have been used to calculate solar or stellar positions, which could have been useful for navigation. Others proposed that they might have served as toys for children, given that such items are often found in household contexts.
Notably, in the ruins of the Roman city of Emona, now Emona in Slovenia, archaeologists discovered 3 dodecahedrons found alongside children's toys, supporting the theory of their use as playthings.
Some researchers also hypothesized that these bronze objects could have been ritualistic attributes related to Roman religious practices. For example, a dodecahedron found in Cologne had traces of a brown patina, which could indicate its use in sacrifices or other rituals. However, none of these theories is conclusive, and it seems that Roman dodecahedrons may have combined several functions, making them unique and intriguing for study.
Renowned German archaeologist and historian Klaus Kostler has conducted extensive research to determine how these objects were used in everyday Roman life.
He has conducted experiments modeling their presumed uses in various contexts, leading to new interpretations of their purpose.
Some dodecahedrons feature complex geometric patterns, suggesting their use as educational tools for geometry, which was an important part of Roman education. It is also notable that some finds exhibit signs of wear, indicating practical use.
For example, a dodecahedron found in the Roman settlement of Vindobona, now Vienna, had visible scratches and damage, possibly indicating active use in games or experiments. As objects that continue to spark debate among archaeologists and historians, Roman dodecahedrons offer a window into the complex and multifaceted world of ancient Roman life. Their mysterious origins and purposes continue to captivate researchers, offering numerous avenues for further study and discovery.
Each discovered dodecahedron sheds light on Roman culture and demonstrates the diversity of their approach to everyday objects. Currently, it is known that dodecahedrons were used in various regions, and finds in places like Britain indicate their widespread use.
For instance, around 30 dodecahedrons have been found in Britain, suggesting that they played an important role in the lives of Roman colonists.
In conclusion, Roman dodecahedrons are not just artifacts but true mysteries that continue to inspire scholars with new research and discoveries. Their true purpose may remain unknown for a long time.
Currently, archaeologists continue to study these objects, and each new discovery brings us closer to understanding their functions and significance in the ancient world.
The Voynich manuscript is a medieval book created in the early 15th century, likely between 1410 and 1430, in Europe, although the exact place of its creation remains unknown.
This manuscript is written in an unknown alphabet and language that has not been deciphered by any of the numerous cryptographers and linguists, making it one of the most mysterious books in the world. The manuscript contains over 200 pages and is divided into several sections, each dedicated to different themes including botany, astronomy, and the human body. The first pages of the book feature colourful illustrations of strange plants, many of which do not correspond to known species, raising questions about whether the authors based their work on real samples or if they were their own creations.
For example, one plant is depicted with long stems and large flowers resembling water lilies, but its morphology does not match any known species.
The astronomical illustrations in the manuscript also spark interest. They include circles, stars, and diagrams that may represent astronomical phenomena or astrological symbols, but their meaning remains unclear. The pages of the book also feature images of female figures engaged in various activities related to nature and medicine, suggesting that the manuscript could have been used as a medical or astronomical reference. The uniqueness of the manuscript lies in the fact that it is written in a language that has no known equivalents, and its cipher is so complex that even modern algorithms and machine learning methods have not been able to decipher it. For instance, in the 20th century, some researchers, such as William Friedman, spent months studying it without success. The manuscript was first mentioned in the 20th century when it came into the possession of American antiquarian Wilfrid Voynich in 1910. Voynich acquired it in an Italian town where it was found among old books and manuscripts. Since then, the manuscript has attracted the attention of scholars, cryptographers, and even enthusiasts of the occult, giving rise to numerous theories about its origin and purpose. Some researchers suggest that the manuscript could have been created for educational purposes, while others believe it represents an encrypted message or even an alchemical treatise.
In the 2000s, artificial intelligence and natural language processing algorithms began to be used for text analysis, but even they have not been able to identify a clear structure or meaning in the manuscript. For example, text analysis using algorithms showed that it contains repeated words and phrases, but their meaning remains unclear.
The manuscript also contains small annotations and notes written in a different handwriting, adding to the mystery, as their origin and content remain unclear.
Today, the manuscript is housed in the Rare Book Library at Yale University, and its availability for study attracts the attention of not only scholars, but also lovers of mysteries and enigmas.
80% of the pages contain illustrations, making it not only a textual but also a visual document that opens doors to the world of medieval thought and creativity. The manuscript even includes the famous astronomical table, which, according to some researchers, may be related to lunar cycles.
Meanwhile, many scholars continue to study it, trying to find the key to its decipherment, making the Voynich manuscript not only an artifact but also a constant object of scientific interest and discussion. In South Africa, in the area of Kleinkopje, metallic spheres were discovered, estimated to be approximately 2.8 billion years old, making them some of the oldest artifacts on the planet.
These spheres, with diameters ranging from 3 to 5 centimeters, were found in Iron Age deposits and present an intriguing subject for study.
Each of these spheres features 3 parallel grooves, raising numerous questions about their origin and purpose. They were discovered in the early 1990s by workers involved in iron ore mining at a South African mine.
Soon after their discovery, the scientific community began discussing their possible origin. Some researchers, such as Dr.
Richard Sott of the University of Pittsburgh proposed that the spheres could be the result of natural processes like mineralization or exposure to high temperatures.
However, others, particularly proponents of the theory of extraterrestrial origin, argue that such structures could have been created by intelligent beings with technology far beyond what was available on ancient Earth.
It is notable that these spheres have a unique chemical composition, primarily consisting of iron and nickel, which also raises questions about how and why these materials ended up in such a form in geological layers that formed in conditions when life did not exist on the planet. Comparison of these spheres with other geological formations, such as Martian samples, only adds to the intrigue. There are other findings that support similar theories, but none have the same age as the Kleinkopje spheres.
Scientists continue to study these artifacts using modern analysis methods, such as scanning electron microscopy and X-ray fluorescence, which allow for a more precise determination of the chemical composition and structure of the material. Some of the data obtained from these studies indicate the presence of unnatural elements, which challenges theories about their natural origin. At the same time, the question of how these spheres were created and in what context they were used remains a mystery for many. The scientific community continues to debate whether the discovery is evidence of ancient technology or the result of natural processes, making this topic one of the most discussed in archaeology and geology. It is important to note that the Kleinkopje spheres are not the only such findings in the world, but their age and structural features make them unique.
Some researchers suggest that their study may provide insights into the history of early Earth and possible forms of life that existed at that time. Currently, the Kleinkopje spheres remain the subject of active study, and each new discovery could change our understanding of the planet's ancient history. The spheres have been transported to several museums for further study, where they are analyzed using the latest technologies.
Currently, efforts are underway to establish the exact date of their creation and understand how they ended up in layers that are billions of years old. Stonehenge is one of the most famous megalithic monuments in the world, located in Wiltshire, England. The age of this mysterious structure is approximately 5,000 years, making it one of the oldest human-made monuments from the Neolithic era. The dating of Stonehenge is based on radiocarbon analysis, which confirmed that the first stone structures appeared around 13,000 years ago, while its final completion was around 2,500 years ago.
The construction of Stonehenge is a true enigma, especially in the context of transporting massive stones weighing up to 30 tons from quarries in Wales, over 200 kilometres away. Research shows that the stones used in Stonehenge are of 2 main types: sarsen stones, which are sandstone, and smaller blue stones made of porphyry quarried on the island of Anglesey. Ancient people could have used wooden sleds and leather slides to facilitate the movement of these heavy blocks across the ground. Some hypotheses suggest that the stones could have been floated down rivers and water bodies, reducing labour costs.
Stonehenge was also built with astronomical phenomena in mind. A study conducted in 2012 showed that its structure aligns with the position of the Sun on the summer solstice, indicating that it may have been used as an astronomical observatory.
Ancient builders could have used simple tools such as wooden and stone hammers, along with various methods involving the physical strength of a large group of people to move and install the stones.
The question of how the builders were able to create such a complex structure without modern technology remains open and intriguing for archaeologists and historians.
Different theories about the construction include the use of rollers, ropes, and even lifting mechanisms, but none have been definitively proven.
Stonehenge not only amazes with its size and architectural solutions, but also serves as a significant object for studying ancient civilizations, their culture, and beliefs. This structure was a site for rituals, as evidenced by the discovery of various artifacts, including human remains and items related to burial practices. In 2015, a group of researchers found remains of ancient sacrifices on the territory of Stonehenge, indicating its use for religious purposes. Stonehenge has also become the subject of many myths and legends, some of which claim that it was built by magicians or aliens, highlighting its mysterious nature. In 2011, UNESCO included Stonehenge in the list of World Heritage Sites, confirming its cultural and historical significance. The true mystery lies not only in how these stones were built, but also in what they meant to the people who created and used them. Scientific research continues, and with each new discovery we get closer to understanding this extraordinary structure and the society that created it. Stonehenge remains one of the most discussed and studied ancient monuments, attracting the attention of both scholars and tourists from around the world. City of Dwaraka, according to Indian legends, was founded by the god Krishna and was considered one of the most important centers of ancient civilization. According to the legend, Krishna built this city on the coast of western India, in the area of the modern state of Gujarat, after leaving Mathura to avoid conflicts with his uncle Kansa.
Dwaraka, as it is said, was a magnificent metropolis populated by millions of people and distinguished by highly developed architectural structures, including palaces, temples, and complex water supply systems.
Archaeologists began to explore the submerged city at the end of the 20th century. In 2003, a subaquatic archaeological expedition led by Dr. Subhas Mehta discovered underwater structures in the area where, according to legends, Dwaraka was located. These studies showed that the underwater ruins are approximately 3,000 years old, which matches the dates mentioned in ancient texts such as the Mahabharata. According to archaeologists, among the artifacts found were stone blocks, ceramics, and tools that could indicate a high level of development of the local culture. Dwaraka is described as being surrounded by walls with many gates, and in its center stood a magnificent temple of Krishna, to which pilgrims from the entire region came. Legends tell that the city was submerged as a result of natural disasters such as earthquakes and sea floods. Some researchers suggest that the submersion could have occurred at the end of the Bronze Age when the sea level significantly rose.
In 2005, an archaeological team from the Indian Institute of Underwater Archaeology discovered underwater columns and foundations that, in their opinion, could belong to the ancient buildings of Dwaraka.
The size and complexity of these structures pose a question for researchers about the level of development of the civilization that existed in this place. There are assumptions that in its time, Dwaraka could have been an important trade port connecting India with other civilizations such as Mesopotamia and Egypt.
During the excavations, golden and silver jewelry was also found, indicating a high level of trade and exchange. Legends about Dwaraka have inspired many writers and artists, and it remains a subject of study and discussion among historians and archaeologists. Some researchers, such as Dr. Ramesh Gupta, assert that Dwaraka could have been not only a myth but also a real place that became a victim of natural cataclysms.
These cataclysms could have been the cause of the disappearance of the great civilization that, according to legends, was inhabited by divine beings and heroes. In 2006, as a result of underwater research, remains of ancient sea routes were discovered, confirming the theory that Dwaraka could have been connected to maritime trade. There are also legends that link the submersion of the city with the actions of gods, adding a mythological aspect to its history. As a result of excavations conducted in 2009, stone tablets with inscriptions in ancient Sanskrit were found, which may contain the key to understanding the history of this submerged city. Scientists continue to study not only the physical remains but also literary sources, trying to restore the full picture of life in Dwaraka.
Various interpretations of myths and facts about Dwaraka continue to cause disputes among scientists and interest among the general public.
At present, it is considered that the study of the submerged city of Dwaraka can shed light on ancient Indian culture and history, as well as on how legends can intertwine with historical reality. In 2012, local authorities began a program to protect and study the underwater ruins to preserve this unique cultural heritage for future generations. The Sphinx in Giza, a majestic stone statue with the body of a lion and the head of a human, continues to provoke debate among historians and archaeologists, particularly regarding its age. Officially, the Sphinx was created during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, who lived around the 25th century BCE. However, some research suggests a more ancient origin. In particular, in 2009, a group of geologists led by Dr.
Robert Schoch of Boston University claimed that the water erosion marks on the surface of the Sphinx indicate that the statue could have been created during a period when Egypt was significantly wetter than it is today.
This discovery sparked heated debates, as many scholars believe that such conditions could have existed only in a period preceding the officially accepted date of the Sphinx's creation, possibly between the 8th and 10th millennia BCE.
Water erosion appears as deep cracks and channels found on the sides and muzzle of the Sphinx, which Schoch attributes to the effects of rainstorms rather than just sandstorms, characteristic of modern Egypt.
These findings are supported by geological studies that show that the Giza Plateau once had larger bodies of water.
Additionally, archaeological finds such as tools and settlement remains in the vicinity suggest that human activity in the area may have begun long before known historical periods. Dr.
Schoch and his colleagues also emphasize that traditional dating methods, such as radiocarbon dating, cannot provide accurate results for such ancient objects, making their conclusions even more relevant.
Notably, in the 12th century BCE, when active exploration of these lands began, local residents already considered the Sphinx to be ancient and mysterious, which could have contributed to the emergence of myths about its origins.
The Sphinx has become not only a symbol of ancient Egyptian culture, but also an object of numerous legends and theories, including hypotheses about hidden chambers and lost knowledge. This aura of mystery around the Sphinx attracts not only scholars but also tourists eager to unravel the secrets of the ancient world. From an architectural perspective, the Sphinx is made of limestone, known for its high strength and durability, and its construction would have required significant effort, further challenging traditional timeframes. Comparison with other ancient monuments, such as pyramids, shows that construction methods and technologies could vary depending on the time and place.
It is important to note that in recent decades, numerous attempts have been made to conduct scientific research to confirm or refute these theories, but the scientific community remains divided.
Today, opinions on the age of the Sphinx remain polarized, and despite new discoveries, no single theory has provided a definitive answer to the question of its creation.
Research continues, and each new finding adds new layers to this complex history.
There are also alternative theories that link the Sphinx to astronomical events, claiming that its orientation towards the east may indicate significant celestial phenomena that occurred in ancient times. These aspects add further significance and depth to the understanding of an object that remains one of the most enigmatic and discussed in the world.
The scientific debates surrounding the age of the Sphinx reflect not only an interest in ancient history, but also broader questions about how we understand and interpret our past.
Göbekli Tepe is the oldest known temple complex located in Turkey, built around 12,000 years ago, making it older than known civilizations and even earlier forms of agriculture. Archaeological excavations initiated in the 90s of the 20th century under the leadership of Professor Klaus Schmidt from the German Archaeological Institute revealed at this site remarkable megalithic structures, consisting of circular and oval platforms surrounded by enormous stone pillars, weighing several tons each. These pillars are adorned with complex reliefs depicting animals such as zebras, deer, and predatory birds, indicating a high level of artistic skill and symbolism among the people of that time.
Remarkably, Göbekli Tepe was built during a period when people primarily engaged in hunting and gathering, which contradicts traditional notions that religious and social structures only emerge after the advent of settled agriculture.
This discovery challenges our understanding of the process of civilization formation, as it was previously believed that an agricultural economy must have preceded the development of religion and architecture. However, in Göbekli Tepe, we observed the reverse order. People created a cultic structure that may have served as a gathering place and site for rituals, and only later began to cultivate agriculture. The dating of the structures shows that the main constructions were erected between 9 and 12,000 years ago, making this complex older than the famous Egyptian pyramids by more than 7,000 years. There are theories that Göbekli Tepe could have been a pilgrimage center for various tribes, which is supported by the diversity of reliefs and architectural forms.
A significant aspect of this place is that its construction required considerable effort and organization, indicating the presence of a complex social structure even before the emergence of cities and states.
The main complex, consisting of more than 20 circles, has dimensions reaching up to 20 meters in diameter, which is impressive even by modern standards. Scholars believe that such large-scale projects could have required the mobilization of large groups of people, implying the existence of some form of management and collective activity. For a long time, Göbekli Tepe lay buried, and its discovery was a sensation for archaeologists and historians. as it challenges many established theories about the beginning of human civilization. It is important to note that this is not just an archaeological monument, but an entire epoch that reveals the mysteries of how ancient people could unite to create something greater than just a shelter or dwelling.
This complex has also become a stimulus for further research in archaeology, as scientists began actively searching for similar monuments that could shed light on this period of history. Göbekli Tepe is located at an altitude of around 800 meters above sea level, which also raises interest, as this place does not have direct access to water, making its construction and existence even more mysterious.
As a result of the excavations, numerous artifacts were found, such as stone tools used for food processing and the creation of art objects. These findings demonstrate that the people who built Göbekli Tepe possessed not only construction skills but also deep knowledge in the fields of art and symbolism, highlighting the complexity of their cultural life.
Göbekli Tepe is one of the most impressive examples of how ancient people could unite to create cultic structures that could serve as centers of spiritual life and social activity. Research has shown that this complex is not just a historical legacy, but a key to understanding how civilization formed and developed over thousands of years.
The fortress of Sacsayhuaman is located just 2 kilometers from the Peruvian capital, Lima, and is one of the most famous archaeological discoveries of the Incas.
Built in the 15th century, it served not only as a military fortress but also as a religious and cultural center, reflecting the power and engineering prowess of the Inca civilization.
The main walls of the fortress consist of giant stone blocks, each weighing from several tons to over 100 tons. These blocks are perfectly fitted together without the use of any mortar, which continues to amaze scientists and tourists.
The method used by the Incas to process and lay the stones remains a subject of debate. Researchers suggest that they employed a system of wedges and simple tools, such as stone grinding machines, to achieve such precision.
The walls reach a height of over 9 meters and were built to withstand earthquakes that shook the region, remaining stable and unbroken. Around Sacsayhuaman are 3 main sections. The first is called Tampu, the second Kusik, and the third Sacsayhuaman. The walls also have a distinctive zigzag profile, giving the fortress a unique appearance and symbolizing the Incas' connection to nature.
Each stone was carefully selected and processed to fit perfectly into the overall structure, demonstrating the high level of craftsmanship of the Inca stonemasons. Sacsayhuaman also served as a site for rituals and festivals, as evidenced by archaeological finds, including tools and objects used in religious ceremonies.
Archaeologists like Jose Antonio Marino emphasize the importance of this place for understanding Inca culture, their social structure, and architectural skills. In the 18th century, after the Spanish conquest, many stones from Sacsayhuaman were used for the construction of Lima, leading to partial destruction of the fortress. However, even in its current state, Sacsayhuaman remains one of the most impressive examples of Inca architecture and engineering. Scientists continue to conduct research to understand how the Incas were able to build such monumental structures with limited technology. In the 21st century, the fortress was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognizing its cultural and historical significance.
Each year, Sacsayhuaman attracts thousands of tourists interested in Inca history and their remarkable achievements in architecture and construction. 80% of all the stones used in construction were quarried from nearby quarries located at an altitude of over 3,000 meters above sea level.
This raises the question of how the Incas transported such heavy blocks over long distances. Research indicates that they may have used wooden sleds and a system of rollers to navigate the challenging Andean landscapes. Sacsayhuaman is also used for traditional Inca festivals such as Inti Raymi, making it an important place for both cultural and historical heritage in Peru. The secrets of the fortress's construction continue to be studied, and each new discovery brings additional knowledge about how the Incas achieved such a high level of mastery in architecture. The Phaistos disc is a unique artifact discovered on the island of Crete in 1908 during excavations led by archaeologist Arthur Evans in the ancient city of Phaistos. The disc has a diameter of approximately 21 centimeters, and its surface is adorned with numerous mysterious symbols that remain undeciphered to this day. The disc features 166 signs, each in the form of impressions, indicating the high level of craftsmanship of the ancient Cretans. The symbols include images of people, animals, and objects, making the disc a valuable source for studying Minoan culture. It is believed that the disc was created around 1800 BCE, adding to its historical significance. The Phaistos disc was found in one of the buildings that likely served as a repository for sacred texts or ritual objects. Despite numerous attempts to decipher the symbols, including the work of scholars such as Martin Bernal and Ioannis Papadopoulos, no single interpretation has gained widespread acceptance.
One of the main hypotheses is that the disc may have been used as a form of writing, possibly for record-keeping or ritual purposes.
Some researchers suggest that the symbols on the disc could represent an ancient language that disappeared with the Minoan civilization.
Cretan archaeologists and linguists continue to study the disc, drawing parallels with other writing systems such as Linear A and Linear B, found on Crete and the mainland of Greece. However, these comparisons do not provide definitive answers.
It is possible that the Phaistos disc was part of a broader writing system used on Crete, but due to the lack of other samples or inscriptions, its mystery remains unsolved. The disc also contains images that can be interpreted as scenes from the life of the Minoans, adding a fascinating cultural context to its significance. Some symbols resemble images found on other artifacts such as seals and pottery, suggesting common cultural and trade connections between different regions of the Aegean Sea during that period.
For example, symbols on the disc resemble images on seals found on the islands of Thera and Cyprus, indicating possible cultural exchange or influence.
Despite extensive research, the Phaistos disc remains one of the most enigmatic objects from antiquity, sparking debate and interest among scholars and history enthusiasts. Some experts believe that deciphering the disc could provide insights not only into Minoan writing, but also into the entire history of ancient Greece. However, this remains an elusive goal, and the disc continues to attract attention as a singular artifact embodying the mysteries and achievements of one of the earliest European civilizations.
The disc is currently housed in the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion on Crete, where it is studied by both tourists and scholars.
The uniqueness and mystery of the Phaistos disc draw numerous researchers who continue to seek explanations for its symbols.
In this context, the disc has become not only an object of archaeological research, but also a symbol of humanity's quest to understand its past. Interest in the disc continues to grow, and despite the lack of definitive solutions, its study opens new horizons in the fields of archaeology and linguistics, highlighting the importance of the Cretan civilization in human history.
The Puma Punku complex in Bolivia is one of the most enigmatic ancient monuments, located near the city of Tiwanaku at an altitude of 3,800 meters above sea level. The construction of this complex dates back to the period between 500 and 900 AD and is associated with the Tiwanaku culture, which left a significant mark on the history of the Andean region.
Puma Punku includes numerous large stone blocks, some of which weigh more than 100 tons and are most impressive for their remarkable craftsmanship. These blocks are made of andesite, which, according to geological estimates, was quarried about 10 kilometers from the complex. However, the mystery lies not only in how these giant stones were moved, but also in how they were processed.
Studies show that the joints between the blocks are so precise that a sheet of paper can be inserted into them, which casts doubt on the use of simple tools known at the time. Archaeologists such as Dr.
Brian Fentress from the University of Michigan claim that the ancient builders used methods that we cannot fully reproduce to this day.
Some theories suggest that advanced tools or even lost technologies were used during processing, but concrete evidence of this remains elusive. For example, in Puma Punku, blocks with indentations and recesses that perfectly fit each other can be found, giving the impression that they were cut using laser technology. However, there are no signs of metal tools that could have been used, which only adds to the mystery. While most ancient cultures used simple stone tools, Puma Punku exhibits traces of processing that clearly indicate more complex methods. For instance, the blocks have such smooth surfaces that fingerprints can be seen on them, indicating a high level of skill.
Puma Punku also surprises with its architectural layout. Some parts of the complex, such as temple platforms and sanctuaries, are positioned with such precision that they align with astronomical phenomena.
Analysis shows that some structures are oriented along the line of sunrise on the days of the winter and summer solstices. This indicates that the builders had deep knowledge of astronomy and used these insights to create their sanctuaries. An interesting aspect of Puma Punku is that artifacts from various periods, including ceramics and tools, have been found on the site, indicating that the region has been inhabited for a long time. Around the complex there are other monuments such as the Sun Gate and the Temple of Pachamama, which also demonstrate the high level of skill of the ancient architects. All this creates the impression of a developed civilization capable of complex engineering solutions and advanced technologies. Studies show that Puma Punku was likely not only a religious center but also an important trade hub where paths between different Andean cultures intersected. It is important to note that the complex has undergone significant erosion and destruction over the centuries, which complicates its study. Restoration work begun in the 20th century has only partially restored the original forms.
Currently, scientists continue to study Pumapunku, trying to unravel its mysteries and understand how the ancient builders were able to create this unique complex, which still raises many questions.
For example, one of the most discussed topics is the possibility of the existence of ancient technologies that were lost. There are approximately 180 stone constructions in Pumapunku, each of which carries numerous mysteries and stories. Pumapunku remains an object of intense research and discussion among archaeologists and historians, who strive to uncover the secrets hidden beneath its stone cover. The height of some blocks reaches 2 meters, and their shapes and sizes vary from rectangular to polygonal, demonstrating the skill of the ancient stonemasons. Giant Olmec heads discovered in Mexico represent one of the most impressive achievements of the ancient Olmec civilization, which existed approximately from the 12th century BC to the 4th century AD. These monumental works of art reach heights of up to 3 meters and weigh up to 40 tons, making them some of the heaviest and largest statues created before the arrival of Europeans. All heads are carved from basalt, quarried more than 100 kilometers from the sites where they were installed, indicating the high level of organization and engineering prowess of the Olmecs.
The creation of these statues was likely carried out using simple but effective tools made of obsidian and other hard stones, as well as a technique known as selective carving, which allowed sculptors to accurately depict details such as facial features, headdresses, and other adornments.
The heads feature massive faces, often with distinctive characteristics that may indicate belonging to specific social groups or tribes.
Scientific research shows that the Olmecs used these heads as symbols of power and status, as well as for cultural rituals.
The first of the discovered heads was found in 1920 in the La Venta region, where American researcher Mary Kearney first described these extraordinary artifacts. In total, around 17 such heads have been found, each with unique features and sizes, suggesting they were created in different historical periods of the Olmec civilization.
Research indicates that the statues could have been part of a vast complex of ritual platforms where the Olmecs conducted ceremonies dedicated to their gods and ancestors.
Considering their weight and size, the transportation of these heads required significant effort and resources, indicating a high degree of social organization and labor. For a long time it was believed that the Olmecs used wooden lugs for transportation, but recent studies suggest they may have employed more complex methods, such as creating special platforms using rollers and ropes. These heads not only impress with their size but also with their artistic expressiveness, as each one carries elements of Olmec mythology and culture that remain a mystery to scholars. They are an important element in understanding the social structure and religious practices of the ancient Olmecs, as well as their influence on subsequent Mesoamerican civilizations such as the Maya and Aztecs. Despite many of these heads being damaged or destroyed, their grandeur and cultural significance continue to captivate researchers and tourists worldwide. Currently, the giant Olmec heads are protected and exhibited in the Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, where historians and archaeologists study their meaning and the technological aspects of their creation. 8 of these heads were found on the territory of the modern state of Tabasco, underscoring the geographical significance of the region for the Olmec civilization. The Baghdad Battery, also known as the Ginzan Battery, is a clay pot dating back to the 1st century AD, discovered near modern-day Baghdad, Iraq. This artifact consists of a clay body with a copper cylinder and an iron rod, suggesting it could have been used to generate electricity. Inside the vessel, traces of acid were found, indicating the possible use of vinegar or wine as an electrolyte. Scientists believe this construction could produce a small electric current sufficient for simple electrolysis processes, or even electroshock therapy.
Research shows that such devices could produce 1 to 2 volts, which, although not enough for modern standards, indicates knowledge of electricity in the ancient world. The Baghdad Battery was discovered in the early 20th century, in 1913, by archaeologist Wolfgang K. Kulik, who was conducting excavations near the ancient settlement of Ctesiphon.
Unlike modern batteries, which use complex chemical processes, the Baghdad Battery is a simpler system utilizing the reaction between metals and acids.
Scholars still debate the purpose of this device. Some argue it could have been used for gilding, i.e., coating metallic objects with a layer of gold or silver, a practice known in antiquity.
Others suggest it could have served ritualistic purposes, such as creating impressive effects during religious ceremonies. It is important to note that there is no consensus on whether the Baghdad Battery was actually used as an electricity source, or if it was merely an interesting artifact with no practical use. Nevertheless, its existence raises questions about the level of knowledge of physics and chemistry in antiquity. Since the 19th century, research into such objects has intensified, and science has begun to consider the possibility of ancient technologies that could have preceded modern ones. The Baghdad battery continues to fascinate scientists and history enthusiasts, challenging traditional views on the development of technology and scientific knowledge. Some researchers even propose that similar devices could have been widespread in other cultures, such as ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. Findings like the Baghdad battery make us wonder about other achievements that may have been forgotten or undervalued in human history. For example, in ancient China, technologies existed to create currents, and such devices may have been used in various aspects of life. The Baghdad battery is not just a historical artifact, it symbolizes the intersection of science and history, demonstrating how ancient people could understand and utilize nature. Research continues, and scientists like Professor Edward S. Craig of the University of Alabama are actively working to restore the possible applications of such devices in antiquity. With each new discovery, we get closer to understanding how technologies developed and were applied in various cultures. The Baghdad battery is just one of many artifacts that raise questions about the progress of human civilization and what we still don't know about our past. As a result, this artifact not only highlights the complexity and diversity of ancient technologies, but also leaves many unsolved mysteries for scientists to unravel. The height of the clay vessel is approximately 30 centimeters, and the diameter of the copper cylinder is about 8 centimeters. The Antikythera mechanism is a unique invention of ancient Greece, which is now considered one of the earliest known analog computers. It was discovered in 1901 on a sunken ship near the island of Antikythera, located between Crete and Peloponnese. The mechanism is estimated to be around 2,000 years old and was likely created around 100 years before our era. This complex mechanism consisted of more than 30 bronze gears and was used for calculating astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses, as well as for predicting the positions of planets. The device had multiple functions. It could display a calendar, show the phases of the moon, and even predict the dates of the Olympic Games. The dimensions of the mechanism are approximately 30 by 21 centimeters, and its intricate construction testifies to the high level of scientific and engineering knowledge of the time.
Researchers such as Derek de Solla Price, in their book Ancient Astronomical Instruments, describe how the mechanism used a system of gear wheels to transmit motion, allowing it to accurately calculate the movements of celestial bodies. Your ability to understand how this mechanism worked depends on its structure. For example, the outer wheels showed the phases of the moon, while the inner ones showed the movement of the sun and planets.
The uniqueness of the mechanism lies in the fact that it demonstrates the level of scientific and technical development in ancient Greece, which was significantly higher than previously thought.
Previously, many historians believed that such devices were created only in the Middle Ages, but the Antikythera mechanism refutes this view.
The restoration of the mechanism took many years, and a significant milestone was the use of X-ray and computer technologies, which allowed researchers to see internal details that were invisible to the naked eye.
For example, in 2008, a group of scientists led by Professor John Lewis from the University of California, Los Angeles, was able to disassemble the gears of the mechanism into layers and create a three-dimensional model, which allowed them to understand how these details work. The mechanism not only served for astronomical calculations, but also as a calendar, showing dates and days, which made it an important tool for planning agricultural work and religious holidays.
It is important to note that such devices were typically used only in elite circles, which underscores the social and cultural differences in ancient society. The Antikythera mechanism also has a special connection with other well-known ancient Greek achievements, such as the works of Archimedes and Claudius Ptolemy, who also dealt with astronomy and mechanics, but none of their devices reached the level of complexity of the Antikythera mechanism.
In 2016, a group of Greek scientists led by Professor Aristotle Kostopoulos conducted a study in which it was established that the mechanism could also be used to determine time by sunlight, making it not only an astronomical, but also a timekeeping device.
Scientific research continues, and each year new details are discovered that help better understand how this mysterious mechanism worked and what role it played in the lives of ancient Greeks. For example, it was established that some details of the mechanism were created using advanced casting technologies that were used only in certain regions of Greece. The uniqueness of the Antikythera mechanism lies not only in its functionality, but also in the fact that it has become a symbol of lost knowledge of the ancient civilization, which was lost for many centuries before we could rediscover it.
For example, in 2017, a new gear was discovered that allowed scientists to reassess some aspects of the mechanism's operation.
Scientific research continues to this day, and more facts confirm that the Antikythera mechanism is not just a historical relic, but a true masterpiece of engineering art. In the Taklamakan Desert of China, known for its harsh climate and vast sand dunes, archaeologists have discovered remarkable mummies that shed light on the lives of European-looking people with red hair who inhabited these lands around 4,000 years ago. These discoveries were made in the 90s of the 20th century when Chinese archaeologists began systematic excavations in this remote region. Since the first findings, such as the Urumqi mummy, scientists have been confronted with the puzzle of how these Europeans ended up in the heart of Asia. The mummies found in the Taklamakan region exhibit distinctive features such as light skin and red or light hair, challenging traditional notions of migrations and ethnic diversity in the ancient world.
A research team led by Professor Kei Zhang from the Natural History Museum in Beijing conducted a genetic analysis of the material extracted from these mummies, revealing that they have genetic links to European populations, indicating complex migration processes that occurred in antiquity.
The researchers determined that these people likely belonged to the Luncheon culture, which existed in the territory of modern China and was known for its advanced agricultural techniques and complex social structure. The mummies were found alongside various artifacts, including textiles believed to be made from sheep and goat wool, as well as everyday items such as food processing tools.
Some of the mummies were found in cedar coffins, indicating a high level of their cultural traditions and rituals.
The findings suggest that these Europeans may have traded with neighboring cultures, such as those inhabiting modern-day India and Iran, indicating the existence of well-developed trade routes connecting various regions. Notably, a mammoth bone found near the mummies also suggests that these people had access to resources not typical of their region. The appearance of the mummies, their clothing, and burial practices challenge our understanding of how people in the past adapted to their environment and the cultural exchanges that occurred. A genetic analysis conducted in 2009 showed that some of the samples have DNA similar to modern European populations, opening new horizons for understanding the history of migrations and the mixing of peoples. This confirms the theory that ancient traders may have traveled long distances, which in turn stimulated cultural diversity. The excavations also uncovered food remains, including seeds and grains, indicating that these people practiced agriculture and could have led a settled lifestyle. This raises the question of how climate changes could have affected their existence and migrations. Some researchers believe that climate change could have led to soil degradation and resource scarcity, forcing people to migrate in search of more suitable living conditions.
Comparing these mummies with other findings in Central Asia shows that these people could have been part of a broader ethnic cultural group, highlighting the importance of such discoveries for understanding human history. Remarkably, the mummies have retained their integrity due to the dry climate of the region, allowing scientists to conduct detailed studies of their condition and way of life.
The burial practices used by these people also reveal unique aspects of their culture, including beliefs in life after death and rituals associated with burial. Professor Zhang and his team continue to work on these findings, striving to uncover all the secrets hidden beneath the sands of this ancient desert. These mummies are not just artifacts but true witnesses to a complex history that links ancient civilizations with modern scientific research.
In 2009, during an international archaeology conference, information about the findings was presented, attracting the attention of scientists from around the world and serving as a catalyst for new research and discussions on cultural connections between the East and the West.
In the southwest of Pakistan, in the region of Bahistan, there are mysterious metallic rings embedded in the rocks. These rings are unique artifacts whose origin remains unclear. The first mention of the Bahistan rings was made in the mid-20th century when local residents began to talk about strange metallic objects found in the mountain areas. Research conducted in 2012 by a group of archaeologists led by Dr.
Asif Khan from the Islamabad University showed that the rings have a diameter of 1 to 3 meters and are made of an alloy containing a high percentage of iron.
Analysis of samples indicated that these rings could have been created using technology not typical of the region. The appearance of the rings raises many questions. They are perfectly round and smooth with characteristic grooves, suggesting mechanical production. In some cases, the rings are located at an altitude of more than 500 meters above sea level, making their accessibility for research difficult. Scientists suggest that the rings could have been part of ancient rituals or used as architectural elements, but neither of these hypotheses has sufficient evidence. Some researchers, such as Dr.
Rashid Mahmoud, proposed that the rings could be linked to ancient civilizations that once existed in this area, such as the Indus civilization, which flourished around 3000 to 800 BCE.
However, there are no archaeological findings that confirm this connection. The unique nature of the rings attracts the attention not only of historians but also of ufologists, who consider them as possible traces of extraterrestrial civilization. They point out that such rings could be evidence of technologies beyond our current capabilities. It is worth noting that in the Bahistan region, ancient ruins and artifacts such as statues and ceramics have been found, but none of these findings provide clear answers about the purpose of the rings. In the 1990s, a group of local researchers conducted excavations in this area, but their work was interrupted due to conflicts and the unstable political situation in the region. Currently, the Bahistan rings remain an unsolved mystery, and their study requires further efforts from the international scientific community and the support of Pakistani authorities. Some archaeologists believe that only with the help of modern technologies such as ground-penetrating radar and laser scanning can new data be obtained about the origin and purpose of these metallic objects. In 2023, a research group from Turkey proposed using new methods to study the structure of the ring-shaped forms and to identify possible traces of metal processing. Despite all the research, the rings remain a subject of debate and controversy, as their mysterious origin continues to intrigue both scientists and history enthusiasts. Paracas turtles from Peru, known for their unusual elongated shape, have become the subject of heated debates among researchers. These turtles were discovered on the Paracas Peninsula in central Peru, where archaeologists found numerous remains dating back to the period between 4,000 and 2,000 years before our era. The elongated shape of their shells raises questions. Is it the result of intentional deformation, as was done with human skulls in some cultures, or is it a genetic characteristic of this species?
Research conducted in the 20th century showed that local residents could intentionally alter the shape of the shell for aesthetic or cultural symbolic purposes. Some scientists, such as anthropologist Dr. José Castillo, argue that such deformation could have been part of a ritual or a status symbol. They believe that elongated turtles could have symbolized a connection to water and fertility deities. However, other researchers, such as biologist Dr. Mario Ramirez, point out that such morphological changes could be the result of natural selection or adaptation to specific environmental conditions. Findings from Paracas support both views. In particular, DNA analyses conducted in 2006 showed that some turtle samples had unique genetic markers, which may indicate the presence of a unique species or subspecies not previously known.
Comparative studies with turtles from other regions of Latin America, including turtles from the Amazon ecosystem, also revealed interesting differences in morphology and genetics.
For example, Amazon turtles have a more rounded shell shape and differ in size, indicating the diversity of adaptations in different habitats. In 2012, an expedition was conducted during which researchers collected new turtle samples, and based on these data, it became clear that there is significant genetic diversity between Paracas turtles and their counterparts from other regions.
Some samples found in burials had complex patterns on their shells, indicating possible cultural significance of these animals. These patterns could be associated with rituals or serve as distinguishing marks for different tribes. Paracas turtles may have been used not only as a food source but also as status symbols, as evidenced by the discovery of turtles in the graves of high-ranking individuals. In 2008, archaeologists discovered a burial containing 3 turtles adorned with decorations and other artifacts, indicating the importance of these animals in the Paracas culture.
Research continues, and each new discovery adds nuances to our understanding of the role of Paracas turtles in ancient Peruvian culture. Ultimately, the question of whether the elongated shape of the shell was the result of intentional deformation or a genetic characteristic remains open, sparking interest and debate among scientists.
The height of the Paracas turtle shell can reach 50 centimeters, making them one of the most conspicuous representatives of their ecosystem. The iron pillar in Delhi, standing over 7 meters tall and weighing over 600 kilograms, was erected in the 4th century AD during the reign of King Chandragupta II, known as Vikramaditya.
Crafted from high-quality iron, its uniqueness lies in its remarkable resistance to corrosion, despite being exposed to the open air for over 16 centuries.
Located within the Qutb Minor complex, the pillar is not only a testament to the outstanding achievements of ancient metallurgists, but also a mystery that continues to puzzle modern scientists. Studies conducted in the 20th century revealed that the iron contains approximately 35% carbon, which is optimal for enhancing strength and corrosion resistance. The unique structure of the metal, featuring a thin layer of iron oxide on the surface, creates a natural protective barrier that prevents further oxidation. This technology was known in India, but its precise methods remain unknown, sparking interest and debate among metallurgists and historians.
The exceptional properties of the iron pillar have been confirmed by numerous studies, including the work of Professor S.K. Ray in the 1990s, who discovered that the pillar contains traces of phosphorus and other elements, indicating a high level of metallurgical processing.
Local residents and tourists also note that the pillar does not rust, despite the humid climate, making it a source of admiration and the subject of many legends.
Myths claim that embracing the pillar can grant a wish, underscoring its cultural significance in Indian culture. Metallurgical experiments conducted in laboratories have shown that such properties can only be achieved with modern technologies, making the ancient methods even more enigmatic.
Scientists compare the pillar to other famous metallic structures, such as those in Rome, which have significantly lost their original strength due to corrosion. The Indian construction, on the other hand, offers a unique opportunity to study ancient technologies that could be more effective than modern ones. Every detail of the iron pillar, from its shape to the chemistry of the metal, continues to attract interest and is studied by many researchers such as Dr. A.N. Mishra, who focuses on analyzing corrosion processes.
In his book Metallurgy in Ancient India, published in 2012, he emphasizes that metalworking technology in India was at a level comparable to modern achievements. Research indicates that the iron pillar could have served not only as a monument but also as an example of engineering thought of its time, as evidenced by its strength and resistance to atmospheric influences. In the 21st century, with the advancement of technologies, scientists continue to uncover new aspects related to the pillar, creating new hypotheses about its origin and purpose.
For example, some researchers suggest that the pillar could have been part of a larger architectural complex associated with a temple dedicated to the god Vishnu, indicating its cultural and religious significance. The pillar has also become a symbol of Indian engineering thought and a subject of study in the field of historical metallurgy, as evidenced by its inclusion in the curricula of many universities worldwide.
In 2000, the pillar was recognized as a national architectural monument, further highlighting its importance to Indian culture.
It has been observed that a small puddle forms around the pillar due to condensation, which also points to its unique properties that continue to fascinate specialists. Therefore, the iron pillar in Delhi is not only a historical artifact but also a complex object of study that continues to amaze and inspire scientists, remaining a mystery linked to ancient technologies.
Rongorongo is a writing system discovered on Easter Island, which remains a mystery to researchers to this day.
The first mentions of Rongorongo date back to the 19th century, when European explorers such as James Cook visited the island in 1774. At that time, wooden tablets with unfamiliar symbols were found, which the local inhabitants used to record various events and knowledge. Today, there are around 12 known tablets with Rongorongo, each containing unique symbols carved into the surface of wood, primarily from the Toromiro tree.
These symbols are ideograms and possibly logograms, but their exact meaning and structure remain undeciphered. Some researchers, like American linguist Jonathan C.
Sterling, claim that Rongorongo may be the only known writing system independently invented in Oceania, which challenges conventional views on the development of writing worldwide. The exact dates of Rongorongo's creation are not known, but it is believed that the tablets appeared between the 13th and 17th centuries when the Rapa Nui culture reached its peak. For many scholars, Rongorongo remains an unsolved puzzle, and they continue to study it using modern technologies such as computer image processing to reveal hidden details of the symbols. Not all Rongorongo symbols have the same frequency. Some appear significantly more often than others, which may indicate their importance or the systematization of the language. Notably, Rongorongo lacks known grammatical rules, making its decipherment more challenging. Some researchers suggest that Rongorongo was used for transmitting religious and cultural knowledge, possibly related to ancestor worship, as many symbols depict human figures and animals that had significance in Rapa Nui culture. The study of Rongorongo has also been criticized due to the lack of context. Many tablets were collected and removed from the island, making it difficult to understand their original meaning and use. Today, the only place where Rongorongo can be seen is the Easter Island Museum, which houses several tablets, as well as in some museums around the world, such as the British Museum and the Museum of Natural History in Paris.
Research on Rongorongo continues, and many scholars hope that in the future they will be able to unravel the mysteries of this unique writing system, which could provide valuable insights into the culture and history of the Rapa Nui people.
There are various theories about how Rongorongo could have emerged. Some researchers suggest that it may have developed from other writing systems, such as the Maya or other South American cultures, although the evidence for this remains controversial. It is also important to note that Rongorongo did not have wide distribution and was likely used by a limited circle of people, which further complicates its decipherment. To date, no known scholar has proposed a definitive decipherment of Rongorongo, and it may remain one of the great enigmas of archaeology and linguistics. 18 Rongorongo symbols stand out for their complexity and diversity, and their study is of interest not only to linguists but also to historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists seeking to understand how communications developed in isolated societies in Oceania. The lines of Nazca in Peru represent some of the most mysterious and impressive geoglyphs in the world. These giant drawings, carved into the surface of the Nazca Desert, cover an area of around 500 square kilometers and depict animals, plants, and geometric figures, reaching lengths of up to 300 meters.
Research shows that these geoglyphs were created between 2,000 years before our era and 600 years after our era by the Nazca people who inhabited this region.
The most famous figures include the hummingbird, the monkey, the spider, and the giant bee. Archaeologists like Maria Reich began studying these geoglyphs in the 20th century and discovered that the drawings are clearly visible only from a height, which has led to numerous theories about their purpose.
One popular hypothesis suggests that the lines were used as an astronomical calendar.
For example, some of them are precisely aligned with the sunrise and sunset on certain days of the year, which could have helped the ancient inhabitants with their agricultural practices. Another theory proposes that the geoglyphs served as cult sites for worshipping gods or spirits, as archaeological finds in the Nazca region indicate ritual practices.
Meanwhile, there is a more eccentric hypothesis linking the lines to extraterrestrial activity. Proponents of this theory claim that the geoglyphs could have been landing strips for UFOs or markers for extraterrestrials, which of course has sparked much debate among scientists and researchers.
Nevertheless, despite all attempts to explain their origin and purpose, the exact reason for the creation of the Nazca lines remains unclear. These enigmatic drawings continue to attract tourists, scientists, and UFO enthusiasts, creating a mysterious atmosphere around them.
In 2015, UNESCO included the Nazca lines in the list of World Heritage Sites, highlighting their cultural and historical significance.
There is an opinion that their protection is necessary due to threats from agriculture and urbanization, which could lead to the destruction of these unique monuments of ancient culture. The Nazca lines remain in the spotlight thanks to their mysteries and unique nature, evoking questions in everyone who sees them about how and why they were created.
Currently, scientists continue to study this topic, using modern technologies such as drone photography and ground-penetrating radar to better understand the secrets hidden beneath the surface of the desert. For example, in 2022, Japanese researchers discovered new geoglyphs using drones, demonstrating that even thousands of years after their creation, the Nazca lines continue to reveal their secrets. At the end of the 20th century in the state of Wyoming, miniature mummies were discovered known as stone-field dwarfs.
These mummies, measuring only about 30 centimeters in length, were found in the Stonefield area in 2001 during excavations conducted by local enthusiasts. Initially, the mummies were displayed in a small museum, but they soon attracted the attention of researchers and conspiracy theorists due to their unusual appearance and size.
One of the most popular theories explaining their origin is related to microcephaly, a rare condition in which a person's head is significantly smaller than average.
This theory is based on the fact that the skulls of the mummies have abnormally small sizes, and some researchers suggested that the dwarfs could have been people suffering from this condition.
Other researchers began to propose hypotheses that the mummies might be representatives of an unknown race or even extraterrestrials. In 2003, anthropologist Dr. Jonathan Griffin from the University of Wyoming conducted a detailed study of the mummies using radiocarbon dating. He determined that the mummies were created no later than the 15th century.
This discovery undermines some theories suggesting that the dwarfs could be extraterrestrials or representatives of another race. Instead, Griffin proposed that the mummies could have belonged to people suffering from various genetic or diseases, such as chickenpox or other pathologies, which could have led to their miniature size.
In addition, the research showed that the mummies had clearly human features, such as teeth and bones, which further confirmed their human origin. However, despite this, the Stonefield dwarfs continue to be surrounded by myths and speculations.
Some researchers even claim that the mummies could have been skillfully crafted fakes created by local artists to attract tourists.
In 2005, an article was published in the journal Archaeology and Myths, claiming that the mummies could have been made using ordinary human bones, which is supported by an analysis conducted in a laboratory studying ancient tissues.
However, none of these hypotheses could ultimately explain how, why, and for what purpose these mummies were created. In recent years, the stone-field dwarfs have become the subject of various scientific research and cultural discussions.
Some researchers continue to study the mummies using modern technologies such as computed tomography to understand their anatomy and possible causes of their abnormal size. In 2009, Dr.
Emily Hunter from the University of California conducted a study examining possible genetic factors that could explain their miniature size. She concluded that a form of dwarfism could be a possibility, but final conclusions were not made.
Meanwhile, the stone-field dwarfs have become part of popular culture and have inspired numerous artistic works, including documentaries and books about mysterious findings.
The mummies remain a mystery, attracting not only scientists but also enthusiasts of the paranormal. There is even a group of fans who regularly gather to discuss new theories and hypotheses about the stone-field dwarfs, emphasizing that this topic continues to generate interest and controversy. Nevertheless, opinions about the mummies remain divided, and many continue to seek the truth about their origin. In 2012, several seminars were held at the university to discuss these mummies and their significance for understanding cultural and historical contexts.
Researchers also attempted to establish a connection between the findings and local legends, opening new horizons for research.
The stone-field dwarfs remain at the center of attention as an example of how archaeology can intersect with myths and legends, creating a unique cultural phenomenon.
Damascus steel, renowned for its exceptional properties and beauty, was lost in the Middle Ages, and modern scientists have yet to fully restore the secrets of its production.
This material was primarily produced in regions that are now part of Syria and Iran, and was known since the 6th century AD.
Damascus steel was distinguished by its remarkable strength and ability to hold an edge, making it ideal for the manufacture of swords and other weapons.
The production process involved a unique forging method that included repeated heating and folding of the metal, resulting in a characteristic pattern structure. The base for Damascus steel was iron ore rich in carbon, which allowed for the creation of a high carbon alloy. The uniqueness of Damascus steel was achieved through the addition of various impurities, such as vanadium and molybdenum, which improved the mechanical properties of the metal.
One of the key features of Damascus steel production was the use of ore containing so-called flowing elements, which form patterns on the surface of the finished product upon melting.
These patterns, resembling water flows, became a distinctive feature of Damascus blades. The restoration of these technologies has been the subject of research in recent decades, but scientists face difficulties in accurately replicating the original methods. For example, in the early 2000s, a group of researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, led by Professor John D. Foster, conducted a series of experiments that showed that using cold water for quenching steel could result in patterns similar to Damascus steel, but they did not achieve the same mechanical properties. There are also other experiments conducted by master blacksmiths who are trying to recreate ancient methods, but most of them cannot accurately reproduce the necessary composition and technologies. As a result, the lost art remains a mystery as to how exactly ancient blacksmiths achieved such a high level of skill and what secrets they hid.
For example, work done in the 19th century shows that Damascus steel could consist of various types of metals, such as high carbon steel and iron, but the exact ratio remained unknown.
Some researchers suggest that during the quenching of steel, unique mixtures of oils and natural resins were used, which could alter the properties of the metal. However, none of these theories have been definitively proven. The diversity of methods and secrets used in the production of Damascus steel makes it a topic of scientific debate and experimentation.
For example, renowned blacksmith Seth Griffin from the United States created a series of blades in 2005 using methods based on ancient traditions and achieved unique patterns, but his work still cannot match the true Damascus steel.
Long ago, Damascus steel became a symbol of the skill and artistry of blacksmithing, and its mysteries continue to captivate scientists and craftsmen to this day. The restoration of original technologies may take decades, but interest in Damascus steel does not wane, and new research continues to open up prospects for understanding this ancient art. For example, in 2020, researchers from Osaka University in Japan discovered that the use of some ancient quenching methods can restore some mechanical properties, but the structure of the steel still differs from the original. Thus, Damascus steel, lost in the Middle Ages, remains one of the most mysterious topics in metallurgy, attracting the attention of both craftsmen and historians. The footprints in Laetoli are unusual imprints of the feet of bipedal hominids dating back 3,600,000 years, discovered in Tanzania in 1978. These footprints were found in volcanic ash that has been preserved due to natural conditions, creating unique conditions for study. A group of researchers led by the renowned anthropologist Mary Leakey, who was working on excavations in the Olduvai region at the time, stumbled upon these footprints in Laetoli while searching for evidence of early human evolution. The imprints were left by two hominids who were likely members of the species Australopithecus afarensis. The size of the footprints varies from 21 to 23 centimeters in length, indicating that these creatures were similar to modern humans in their foot structure, but had longer toes and shorter heels.
The significance of these footprints lies in their confirmation of the hypothesis about the bipedal behavior of our ancestors.
Analysis showed that the imprints were made in soft, fresh volcanic ash that gradually hardened, preserving details such as the shape of the toes and the overall gait style. The study of the footprints also allowed scientists to compare morphological features with other Australopithecus finds, providing deeper insights into the evolution and adaptation to bipedalism. An important aspect is that the footprints are arranged in a sequence that indicates the hominids moved in groups, suggesting social behavior. The discovered footprints were placed under protection, and in 2012 conservation work was carried out to prevent their destruction. This site is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and attracts thousands of tourists and researchers each summer. It is worth noting that the discovery of the footprints in Laetoli also sparked heated debates among scientists regarding the timing and location of the appearance of bipedal hominids, highlighting the complexity and diversity of the evolutionary process.
For example, research has shown that Homo erectus, another significant species in human evolution, appeared much later, around 2 million years ago, challenging linear views of evolution.
The footprints in Laetoli are a significant milestone in understanding human history and continue to serve as a foundation for new research in paleoanthropology. This discovery not only confirmed the hypothesis about bipedal hominids but also served as a catalyst for further excavations in East Africa, where other important artifacts, such as skulls and tools dating to the same period, were found. Therefore, the footprints in Laetoli represent a unique and valuable contribution to the understanding of human evolution and their way of life 1,600,000 years ago.
In the early 20th century, in the year 1933, in a small town in Oklahoma, an American farmer named Oscar Moon discovered a strange object that later became known as the London hammer. This stone tool, according to some researchers, was found encased in a layer of rock dated to around 300 million years old by geological standards, which challenges the accepted timeline of human civilization's development.
At first glance, the hammer appears to be a simple work tool with a wooden handle and an iron head. However, its origin raises many questions. Studies showed that the hammer was made of cast iron, which, according to modern science, could not have been produced before the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century. This suggests that the hammer was trapped in prehistoric rock, contradicting all known facts about human evolution and its tools. American geologist and paleontologist Dr. John L. Moon, who studied the artifact, claimed that the hammer was created by people living millions of years ago. However, his conclusions were met with harsh criticism from the scientific community, which pointed out the lack of any other artifacts confirming the existence of a highly advanced civilization in such an early period. The hammer-shaped object became a subject of debate among creationists and evolutionists, each using it to support their theories about human origins. Scientists like Dr. David S.
Berkeley noted that finds like the London hammer often turn out to be the result of coincidental circumstances or misinterpreted data. For instance, a modern tool might end up in a layer of earth mistakenly dated to a much earlier period. In the case of the hammer, numerous theories attempted to explain its presence in ancient layers, ranging from the possibility of its accidental inclusion in geological formations to the theory of ancient civilizations that might have existed before humans.
However, besides the hammer, no other traces of this supposed civilization were found, which cast doubt on its significance as evidence. It is interesting that while some researchers tried to authenticate the hammer, others pointed out its unavailability for more detailed scientific analysis, creating additional difficulties in its study.
Institutions involved in geological and archaeological research demanded stricter research methods, but the hammer remained in private hands, limiting the possibilities for scientific verification.
Additionally, there are many stories about other anomalous finds, such as stone tools or artifacts found in layers of earth whose age is also disputed.
For example, in 1940 in Texas, stone tools were found that, according to researchers, were older than 100 million years.
Despite such numerous finds, the scientific community continues to adhere to the accepted chronology based on extensive data from various scientific fields. The London hammer ultimately became a symbol of the conflict between traditional science and alternative theories about human origins, attracting the attention of both scientists and enthusiasts of mysteries. Around the hammer, myths and legends have grown, adding to its mystique and interest, but also detracting from serious scientific discussion. Scientific research and analyses have shown that such finds, like the London hammer, can serve as a lesson about the importance of approaching evidence with critical thinking and rigorous methods. Currently, the hammer is stored in a private collection, and its fate remains unclear, adding to the enigma of this object. Today, the London hammer continues to spark interest and debate in scientific and pseudoscientific circles, remaining a mystery that cannot be definitively solved. The stones of Ica, discovered in Peru, are enigmatic artifacts that captivate both researchers and enthusiasts of anomalous history. These stones, primarily made of obsidian and other rocks, bear carvings depicting dinosaurs, complex surgical procedures, and various anachronisms that cast doubt on their authenticity. The first mentions of these stones date back to the mid-20th century, when local residents began finding them in the Ica region on Peru's southern coast. In the 1960s, Dr. Julio Tello, a Peruvian physician, brought attention to the stones through his research. He claimed that the stones show scenes from the prehistoric period, including images of dinosaurs interacting with humans. This assertion sparked numerous debates and discussions among archaeologists and historians. The carvings depict various types of dinosaurs, from Tyrannosaurus rex to Triceratops, which is puzzling because the latter went extinct around 70 million years ago. Some stones also show people performing complex medical procedures, such as amputations and brain surgeries, which challenge the medical knowledge of ancient cultures. In 1981, researcher and paleontologist Dr. David Campbell analyzed the stones and concluded that most of the carvings were made using modern tools. His findings support the view of many scientists that these artifacts were likely created in the 20th century to attract tourists and create a sensation. One of the stones shows a person performing an operation on an open skull, raising questions about whether such knowledge existed in ancient times. In the 1990s, a group of archaeologists led by Dr. Ricardo Castillo conducted studies on the stones and their origins. They concluded that the stones of Ica lack historical value and are modern forgeries. However, their popularity has not waned, and they continue to attract interest from enthusiasts who believe in their authenticity. The creators of the forgeries used various techniques, including mechanical processing and engraving, to create the illusion of antiquity. Some researchers point out that even if the stones are forgeries, they still reflect cultural aspects and interests of the society in which they were created. The artifacts have become a symbol of disputes over what can be considered genuine history. For example, proponents of conspiracy theories believe that the government is hiding information about dinosaurs and ancient civilizations with advanced technologies. As a result, the stones of Ica have become a cultural phenomenon that attracts not only scientists but also lovers of mysteries from around the world. In the 1990s, when the stones of Ica gained internet fame, groups of people began actively discussing their significance and possible origins. Some of these groups continue to exist, exchanging information and theories about how such artifacts could have appeared in our time. Overall, the stones of Ica represent an intriguing case where archaeology intersects with fantasy and cultural myths, creating a field for constant disputes and discussions. Currently, there are more than 80 stones with similar images, but their authenticity remains in question. There is no consensus on who exactly created these objects and for what purpose, making them even more intriguing.
Some researchers continue to search for evidence that could confirm or refute the theory of their ancient origin.
The underwater Neolithic settlement of Atlit Yam, located off the coast of Israel, is a unique archaeological site that sank around 9,000 years ago. This settlement dates back to the Neolithic period, when people began to adopt a sedentary lifestyle, engaging in agriculture and animal husbandry. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of buildings constructed from stones and wood, as well as numerous artifacts that provide insight into the lives of ancient people. 80% of the settlement is underwater, which helps preserve many items in good condition. The first excavations at Atlit Yam began in 1984, when Israeli archaeologist Professor Yair Avim organized underwater digs. During these excavations, more than 600 items were found, including tools, pottery, and animal remains. 2 large stone monoliths caught the attention of researchers, which could have served as ritual objects or symbols of the site's importance to its inhabitants. Human bone fragments were also discovered, indicating that not only people but also their ancestors lived there, making it a significant site for studying human evolution. The remains of fish and mollusks suggest that the inhabitants of Atlit Yam actively engaged in fishing. The research revealed that they used various fishing methods, including nets and traps, demonstrating their high level of skill.
Atlit Yam is also known for its well-preserved ceramic artifacts, decorated with geometric patterns and animal images. These findings provide valuable information about the cultural and social aspects of life during that time. In 1991, a detailed study of the underwater structures was conducted, during which traces of ancient paths connecting different parts of the settlement were found. These paths were likely used for moving between houses and public areas. It was also established that the settlement existed during a period when sea levels were significantly lower than today, allowing researchers to speculate about the changes in the regional landscape over thousands of years. Research on the underwater settlement of Atlit Yam continues to this day, and archaeologists hope to discover new objects that will help better understand the lives of these ancient people and their culture.
A key aspect of these studies is the opportunity to see how people adapted to changing climatic conditions and how this influenced their way of life. In 1992, a unique structure resembling an ancient house with several rooms was discovered at Atlit Yam, allowing scientists to hypothesize that entire families could have lived there. The diversity of findings, including tools made from flint and animal bones, indicates that the settlement's inhabitants were skilled hunters and gatherers. The pottery found on the site suggests that a culture developed there that used clay to create vessels and other items.
These artifacts date back to a period between 8,000 and 9,000 years ago, making Atlit Yam one of the earliest known settlements in Israel.
The underwater location of the settlement created unique conditions for the preservation of artifacts, and many of them were found practically untouched. This discovery attracts the attention of researchers from around the world as it provides a window into the lives of people who lived during the prehistoric era. Atlit Yam is a significant site for studying changes in human behavior and culture in response to climatic changes and other factors. Currently, researchers continue to analyze the findings to understand how ancient societies interacted with their environment and how they adapted to new conditions. The Yonaguni Monument, located off the southern coast of the Japanese island of Yonaguni, is a subject of heated debate among researchers, archaeologists, and history enthusiasts. Some believe it to be a natural formation, while others insist that it is a submerged ancient temple, possibly dating back 10,000 years.
80 kilometers from Taiwan, at a depth of around 5 meters, large stone structures are found, consisting of terraces, steps, and right angles.
These features are puzzling. How could such a perfectly symmetrical structure have formed under natural erosion and weathering? The first mentions of Yonaguni appeared in the 1990s when divers began exploring the area.
Japanese diver and researcher Masaki Morimoto first documented the findings in 1995, publishing photographs of the underwater structures. His work drew the attention of both scientists and the media.
Subsequent research by some geologists, such as Dr. Hiroshi Saito, suggests that the formations are indeed natural, resulting from erosion of limestone and underwater currents. However, proponents of the artificial origin hypothesis, including archaeologist Dr. Kenji Miura, point to the presence of right angles and stair-like structures, which they believe could have been created by humans. These details, such as clear edges and projections, cast doubt on the natural origin of the monument. Long-term studies by Japanese and international scientists have not reached a consensus. In 2015, a team of researchers from Tokyo University, led by Dr. Toshiaki Okada, conducted underwater research that revealed additional geometric forms, confirming human activity. They discovered elements resembling steps and platforms, which only intensified the debate about the nature of these formations.
In the same year, using three-dimensional scanning and photogrammetry, scientists created highly detailed models of the structure, allowing for a thorough examination of its geometry.
However, many skeptics continue to argue that these forms can be explained by natural processes. In 2018, a study by a team from Tokyo University indicated that the age of the stone formations could range from 2,000 to 10,000 years, further fueling interest in this site. The debates surrounding Yonaguni are reminiscent of discussions about other ancient mysteries, such as Stonehenge or the Pyramids of Giza, where science encounters myths and legends.
Regardless of whether Yonaguni is a product of nature or human hands, it continues to attract the attention of scientists and travelers eager to unravel its mysteries.
Geological research shows that the surface of the monument is covered with coral deposits, indicating its long submersion, but it does not provide a definitive answer to its origin. Each year, thousands of divers and tourists visit to explore the underwater beauty of Yonaguni, confirming its status as one of the most enigmatic places on the planet. The Baalbek temple complex in Lebanon, renowned for its colossal stones, is a striking example of ancient architecture and engineering prowess. Located in the Bekaa Valley, this complex was constructed during the Roman period, beginning in the 1st century BC and continuing until the 3rd century AD. Baalbek is home to some of the largest cut stones in the world. The most famous of these, known as the Stone of the Giants, weighs around 1,000 tons and was carved from a quarry located several kilometers away from the complex itself. This monolith is one of the largest limestone blocks ever moved by humans. Additionally, within the temple complex there are other massive blocks, with weights reaching up to 700 tons. Their size and weight challenge the capabilities of ancient technologies, as modern cranes struggle to lift such boulders, let alone move them over long distances and position them correctly.
Ancient engineers and architects employed various methods for transporting such large stones, including a system of wooden rollers lubricated with oil to reduce friction.
It is also believed that they used special inclines and trenches to facilitate the movement of the stones. Research indicates that the installation of these blocks required not only high skill, but also significant human resources.
It is difficult to imagine how many people were involved in this process, but historians estimate that it could have been thousands of workers under the guidance of experienced craftsmen.
In this context, it is worth mentioning that for the construction of Baalbek, not only large blocks were used, but also complex architectural elements such as columns and arches, which also required high precision in their processing. The columns on the square in front of the Jupiter temple reach a height of more than 20 meters and have a diameter of about 2 meters. These columns were carved with extraordinary precision, allowing them to maintain their stability over centuries. An important aspect of Baalbek is its cultural significance. The temple complex was dedicated to Roman gods and also served as a place of worship for local deities.
It is likely that Baalbek was not only a religious center but also an important economic and political hub in the region. Its monumental size and architectural achievements influenced many other cultures within the Roman Empire and beyond. Even today, as archaeologists study this complex, they continue to discover new artifacts and details that help better understand how this remarkable monument was built.
For instance, in 2005, a group of archaeologists led by Professor Khaled Al-Hajj found remnants of ancient mosaics and frescoes that once adorned the interior of the temples. These findings testify to the high level of artistic skill and technology available at that time.
Baalbek is often referred to as the City of the Sun, and this is not without reason, as the sun's rays play on the stones of the complex, highlighting their size and grandeur, creating a visual effect that is awe-inspiring.
It is important to remember that the construction of such monumental structures was not only a result of technology, but also deep religious and cultural traditions that continue to be studied by historians and archaeologists. Over the centuries, Baalbek has attracted the attention of travelers, researchers, and historians, and its mysteries remain relevant to this day. 80% of the complex is still covered by the ground, opening up vast possibilities for future excavations and research. Various theories about how this complex was built continue to be discussed, and each new discovery adds new details to the understanding of this extraordinary architectural epoch. The script of the Indus Valley, which existed approximately 4,000 years ago, represents one of the most mysterious and least studied writing systems in history. This script was used in the Indus civilization, which covered the territory of modern-day Pakistan and northwestern India, including important cities such as Harappa and Mohenjo-daro.
Researchers have discovered more than 2,000 clay tablets and seals with inscriptions consisting of various symbols, but none of these signs have been deciphered yet.
This has sparked many debates among historians and linguists. A successful decipherment could significantly alter our understanding of the development of writing in the ancient world. The symbols used in this script range from simple geometric shapes to more complex signs, which are believed to represent entire words or ideas. Some researchers suggest that this script could have been a precursor to more well-known systems such as Sumerian or Egyptian, which challenges traditional views on the development of writing. Scholars like Richard E. Falk and John F.
Shepard conducted extensive research to compare the Indus Valley signs with other ancient scripts, but without success.
This situation is further complicated by the fact that archaeological finds often lack the context necessary to understand the functionality of the script. For instance, some tablets were found in public places like temples, while others were found in private homes, which may indicate different spheres of use.
It is worth noting that the Indus Valley script was discovered on objects often used in economic and trade operations, such as seals, which suggests its commercial nature.
This is also supported by the presence of signs that could represent quantities of goods. Interestingly, most signs are found on small objects, which may indicate that the script was used for brief notes or marks rather than long texts.
Modern technologies such as computer modeling and big data analysis are opening new horizons for research into this script. For example, in 2020, a team of archaeologists led by Dr.
Ajay Sharma conducted a study on the structure of symbols using image recognition algorithms, which revealed some patterns in their use. This could be a step towards decipherment, although it is still uncertain whether this will lead to a final result.
Research suggests that the Indus Valley script may have had a more complex structure than previously thought, and could include elements that we have not yet studied.
For instance, some scholars propose that the script could have included phonetic elements similar to those used in other ancient civilizations like Egyptian.
Others argue that the script had a ritual significance, which is supported by finds in temples where symbols could have been used for ceremonial records. In this context, it is worth noting that the Indus Valley script may be a key to a deeper understanding not only of the civilization itself, but also of the evolution of writing in general.
There are also alternative theories suggesting that the script could be related to a language that had no counterparts in other regions, which significantly complicates the task of decipherment.
In this context, it is worth mentioning that the language groups that existed during the Indus civilization remain unclear, and the lack of direct evidence about the language hinders further research.
For example, in 2020 new tablets were found that may contain previously unknown symbols, giving hope for possible progress in decipherment. However, unfortunately, many artifacts were destroyed or damaged during construction work and military conflicts, which complicates the research. Today, the Indus Valley script remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of archaeology, and its study may lead to new discoveries about the cultural and linguistic connections of ancient civilizations. Archaeology is an integral part of understanding human history, and each new discovery can challenge our perceptions of the past.
In 2018, in the vicinity of the ancient city of located in modern-day Iraq, archaeologists uncovered a cemetery containing over 130 skeletons, which, according to radiocarbon dating, date back to around 4,000 years before our era.
These findings raise numerous questions about the social structure, burial rituals, and daily life of the inhabitants of Ur. The analysis of the remains showed that many were buried with objects, indicating the presence of complex beliefs and rituals related to the afterlife. In 2019, a team of researchers led by Dr. Emma Davidson from the University of London discovered in Egypt, near the ancient city of Memphis, a tomb containing mummified remains adorned with golden jewelry and amulets. This discovery confirms that the ancient Egyptians had sophisticated beliefs about life after death and highly developed skills in jewelry making. In 2020 in Peru, archaeologists from the National University of San Marcos found more than 300 skeletons in the area of the ancient civilization of Nazca. These remains were found with characteristic geoglyphs of this culture, challenging traditional views on how and why these massive drawings were created on the ground.
In 2020, artifacts were also found in China, in the province of Shandong, where archaeologists studied cave paintings dating back to the period from 5,000 to 3,000 years before our era.
These images, depicting people and animals, suggest that the culture of this region was much more complex than previously thought. In 2020 in Greece, on the island of Crete, a new cave was discovered with cave paintings that, according to preliminary estimates, may be associated with the Minoan civilization. This discovery may change our understanding of the art and rituals of this enigmatic society. All these findings show that archaeology continues to amaze and open new horizons in the study of human history.
Each new discovery challenges traditional views and forces researchers to re-evaluate existing theories about the evolution of human societies and cultures.
Scientific debates around these findings highlight the complexity and multifaceted nature of human history, where each discovery adds a new layer to our understanding of the past.
For example, findings in the area of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations, such as cuneiform tablets, show how early societies used writing for record-keeping and administrative activities, challenging our understanding of when the history of writing began. In 2020 in Iran, traces of an ancient temple dating back to around 6,000 years before our era were found, confirming the existence of complex religious practices about which there were no reliable data before.
These findings contain keys to understanding how human societies developed, what factors influenced their evolution, and how people interacted with each other and their environment.
Archaeological research continues to uncover mysteries that allow us to look at human history from a new perspective, and many of these enigmas still await resolution.
These findings show that even the oldest civilizations left behind a legacy that requires careful study and analysis to understand how they lived, what they thought, and what dreams inspired them.